Good evening and welcome. This is News First, where the people come first. I'm Azra Hassan, joining you live with our sign language interpreter for tonight, Brian D. Cruz. Let's first take a look at our headlines for tonight.
Thousands flocked to the Golface Green to protest against the government. Cardinal joins the growing protests. Public Security Ministry seeks assistance of military when essential. $3 billion needed to import essentials for the next 6 months, Finance Minister says. Monthly fuel demand exceeds 4,500 metric tons.
Large crowds of people have gathered outside the President's office in Colombo to show their objection against the government's handling of the crisis in the country. Now, Disal Kabuge is at the location with the rest of our team. Disal, what is happening there?
Right now I'm in front of the President's office and a massive amount of people have gathered here. Now they are gathered here to protest in one voice together. They are requesting the government to step down and the President also to step down and give the country back to capable hands. Now there are people from many walks of life here. There are professionals, there are students, the youth, even children have arrived in this area to protest as one. Now they've been here since 9 a.m. in the morning and around 7 o'clock it started raining, but still they weathered the rain, they were persistent.
People of Sri Lanka are chanting one thing as a nation. They're saying go home, and I think the leaders of Sri Lanka must act upon it and understand the situation of Sri Lanka and get the reality understood.
Sri Lanka is a great nation, right? And I never ever thought about going to any other country, but right now because of this current situation, I'm actually considering this, and it's very, very sad because I love this country. I want to grow in this country. I want to make a career in this country. But the problem is with the current situation, it's very difficult to do anything.
I'm from the IT industry, so I'm here today mainly because of the power cuts. We can't work because of the power cuts, so we bring dollars to the country, but we can't work because of the power cuts.
Enough is enough, so we are struggling, so everyone is in the street, so we are united. I thank you for that, and please go home now. Enough is enough for us.
We're all here for our country. We want this government going home. They have failed us in every way. They have just run us to the ground, and it's time that we took back our country. This is our country. They are elected officials, nothing more.
Thousands of people flocked to the Golface Green opposite the President's office out of frustration against the mounting crises in the country. Protesters were kept out of the golf face green as a notice was on display saying the area would be closed for maintenance work. The protesters then held demonstrations on either side of the road.
You can't escape after lying to the people. They are trying to divide the people using racism. We won't let that happen. We are protesting for our country. This country is not only for one family. We are protesting on behalf of all the people.
The differently abled added their voice to the protest today.
අපි ගොඩක් අසරණ තත්ත්වයේ ඉන්නේ. අපි ගොඩක් පහත් තත්ත්වයේ ඉන්නේ. මේ ජන අරගලයට මේක අපේ අම්මා වගේ. මගේ රට. අපි ඔක්කොම එකයි. දුක් දෙන්න හොඳ නැහැ අපේ අම්මට. ජාත්‍යන්තරේ අපි හිඟා ගන්න ඕනේ අපිට ශක්තියක් දෙනවා.
In a gesture of solidarity, volunteers distributed snacks and bottled water among protesters.
Protests are also being held in other parts of Colombo and its suburbs. Newsfirst Ahmed Buso met with those protesting at the Independence Square in Colombo this evening.
Whose freedom? Our freedom! Whose rights? Our rights! Whose rights? Our rights! Whose rights? Our rights! Whose rights? Our rights! Whose country? Our country!
A protest was held at the Independence Square in Colombo this evening.
I'm at the Independence Square precinct where a group of protesters have been protesting since 10 a.m. this morning.
We need leaders who are more compassionate. There's no fuel, there's no gas, there's no basic necessities, or there is food scarcity. All we're asking for the state and the president and the prime minister is to simply step down and let someone else who is more compassionate towards the people take over.
Now real change is coming. The country has been united like never before, and the international community is watching right now. So we expect change, and change will come whether the Rajapaksas and our government likes it or not.
People have also gathered at the Liberty roundabout in Kolpiti this evening.
I'm here to appeal to the government to say if you can't do your job, please leave. There are enough and more people who are willing to do this, who understand economics, who understand governance, who can easily replace you.
Sri Lankans living overseas staged multiple protests against the current government and rising issues in the country.
Expatriates living in the US held protest in solidarity with the Sri Lankans at home. A protest was held in South Carolina.
We hope to use these resources and serve our country one day. We must be left with a country to do so. We believe that fraud and corruption must end. The money sent by expatriates must be used to help the people and develop the country.
Another protest was held in Atlanta in the US.
ශ්‍රී ලංකාව මෙතෙක් කල මේ අවුරුදු 74ක් පාලනය කරපු සියලුම පාලකයන් මේකට වඩකිනුයි කියන වචනය මේ අවස්ථාවේදී අපි ප්‍රකාශ කරන්නට කැමතියි.
A protest was staged by Sri Lankans living in Germany. Expatriates in Israel also staged a protest. The protesters held placards and demanded solutions to the ongoing economic crisis in the country. Catholics and civil activists participated in a protest march dubbed as the Walk for Justice today. They chanted slogans demanding justice for the victims of the 2019 April 21st attacks and quick solutions to the country's political and economic crisis. The protesters marched to the St. Sebastian's Church in Katuwapitia from the cemetery where victims of the 2019 attacks were buried. They then proceeded towards the St. Anthony's Church in Kochikade. Some held placards on pavements in solidarity with the protesters who passed by.
This is the walk for justice. Serve justice for those who shed their blood. Those who thrive on the blood of the victims should be brought before the law. The blood of the children and parents who lost their lives have spilled over the lives of the conspirators of the attacks for generations.
Archbishop of Colombo, His Eminence Malcolm Cardinal Ranjit, led a protest in Negombo today seeking justice over the 2019 April 21st attacks. Catholics and Muslims participated in the protest.
We have reached an era of queues. We can see gas queues, petrol queues and diesel queues everywhere. I am here today on behalf of the future of our children. The people of Negombo have gathered here today to give the message that you cannot divide us. Listen to us. The government and 225 MPs need to go home.
මේ ජනතාව සියලු දෙනාම මේ ස්ථානයට පැමිණී තිබෙන්නේ ආණ්ඩුවම ගෙදර යන්න 225ම එපා කියලා කියනවා. ඒකට සවන් දෙන්න බලය අල්ලගත්තට වැඩක් නැහැ. බලය හරියට පාලනය කරගන්න පාවිච්චි කරන්න ඒ අය දන්නේ නැහැ.
There is no point of gaining power if you cannot retain it. This country has now fallen into its deepest crisis. We have been requesting this government to serve justice over the April 21st attacks and to find out the perpetrators by implementing the recommendations of the Presidential Commission. But they blame the Muslims entirely for the incident and shield the actual perpetrators. Today we are witnessing the curse of that. What has happened to the law today? It is now in the hands of the politicians. The Attorney General has become a servant of the government. They misled the people and came into power. They have sold national assets to foreign countries. Some of the Rajapaksas who stole millions of dollars which were exposed in the Pandora Papers have left the country. This is the curse that has befallen this country. We still have hope. We are worse than beggars now. Yesterday I saw a beggar in India trying to send his money to Sri Lanka. So we request everyone to unite to send them home and save the country.
Police have sought public assistance to arrest a man who allegedly set 2 buses on fire during protests in Mirihana recently. The police have released an artist's sketch of the suspect based on CCTV footage of the incident. Police have sought public assistance to arrest a man who allegedly set 2 buses on fire during protests in Mirihana recently. The police have released an artist's sketch of the suspect based on CCTV footage of the incident.
When there is no state of emergency and curfew in the country, the regulations relating to law and order must be enforced by the police. In a democratic country, calling the army in a situation like this is not acceptable. Rather than solving the burning issues of the people, the government is trying to abuse the law and suppress the people's protests. We won't be suppressed by orders or document. Under Article 14(1) of the Constitution, anyone can stage the protest within the framework of democracy. So don't worry, we will protect you. Long queues for fuel are bearing testament to the fuel shortage that continues to persist in the country. Queues have been seen outside filling stations in the Anuradhapura town since this morning. They wouldn't act like this if they cared about the people. You shouldn't act in a way that benefits you personally. No one is speaking about the people. They only speak about their personal matters. The parliament is useless. It's not a surprise that the people are taking to the streets. Long queues were seen at a filling station in Sandanpura in Dehiyattakandiya. Similar queues were seen at filling stations in Bibile this morning.
Finance Minister Ali Sabri says Sri Lanka needs about $3 billion to import essentials including fuel and medicines in the next 6 months. He made these remarks in an interview with Reuters.
Finance Minister Ali Sabri had told the Reuters news agency that Sri Lanka will seek another $500 million credit line from India to import fuel that is sufficient for 5 weeks. He had said that the government would also seek support from the Asian Development Bank, the World Bank, China, the United States, Britain and countries in the Middle East. The Finance Minister noted that Sri Lanka will look to restructure international sovereign bonds and seek a moratorium on payments. He had expressed confidence over negotiating with bondholders for an upcoming $1 billion international sovereign bond payment in July. In an effort to fix government finances, Sabri had said the country will have to raise tax rates and further increase fuel prices within the next 6 months.
The cost of goods is rising ahead of the Sinhala and Tamil New Year, which is just 5 days away. Tonight, News First takes a look at how the cost of living continues to skyrocket in the country. We'll have details of the story further in the bulletin. Meanwhile, President's Counsel M.A. Sumandiran has commented on Ranjit Siyambalapitiya's decision to reverse his resignation as the Parliament's Deputy Speaker.
The Deputy Speaker resigned, and according to standing orders of Parliament, when that seat becomes vacant, the first matter that must be dealt with when Parliament meets is to take a vote or to appoint a new Deputy Speaker. The government was running scared of a vote in Parliament, and so they convinced the Deputy Speaker to withdraw his resignation. This confirms that the government actually has lost its majority in Parliament, and that is why the main opposition party is now taking steps to move a vote of no confidence. evidence, and when that is taken up, it will be plain that the government does not have a majority in parliament and the government has no legitimacy to continue in office.
The cost of goods is rising ahead of the Sinhala and Tamil New Year, which is just 5 days away. As I mentioned to you earlier, tonight, News First takes a look at how the cost of living continues to skyrocket in the country.
Shops in the business hub of Petta are usually teeming with customers for the New Year festival. But this time around, the rising cost of living has kept many people away from shopping.
ජනතාවට මුදල් නැහැ. ජනතාව බොහොම අදුක්කෙන් ජීවත් වෙන්නේ. ඒ වගේම කණ්ඩක් නැති කාලේ මිනිස්සුන්ට තියෙන්නේ. ඒගොල්ලෝ අද ඔතන මා මන්දිරවල තියන්නේ අපේ ජනතාවින්ද. අපේ ලංකාවේ හැම එකක්ම තියෙනවා මව් රටේ. නමුත් දා දුක් විඳින පිට රටින් ගේන්න. ලොකුවෙන්ට මේ උගුරෙන් පල්ලයට කැමටි කියන එක ලොකු පුදුමයක්.
The Sinhala and Tamil New Year festival usually means good business for textile shops in Pavanur. But the situation is not so favorable this time.
ඉතින් මිනිස්සු මේ සැරේ මං හිතන්නේ ඇඳුම් ගන්නෙ නෑ.
පිළවරක් නැයිද කියලා දෙයක් නැයිද? ඉන්නන් වල ඉන්න කරන්නම් වල කරනවා ඉතින් බිස්නස් ඉතින්.
අවුරුද්දද? අපෝ අජපාල්.
දැන් තමයි තේරෙන්නේ මුන් කොච්චර හොරකම් කරනවද කියලා.
තුන් ගුණයකින් බඩු මිල වැඩි.
පණ්ඩවත් නැතුව ඉන්නේ යන්නේ. ඡන්දෙ දුන්න වැරද්දනේ.
News First visited economic centres to look into how vegetable sales are faring. Traders say the cost of vegetables has doubled.
වෙළඳක පැමිණීමේ වැඩිවීමකුත් තියෙනවා. එළවලු අඩුවක් තියෙනවා. වෙළඳක පැමිණීමේ වැඩියක් තියෙනවා. ඒ නිසා මිල වැඩිවීමක් තියෙනවා. එනදා එන එළවලු වලින් 50ක් විතර තමයි දැන් එන්නේ. ඒ නිසා මිල වැඩිවීමක් තියෙයි.
බඩු අරගෙන මිනිස්සුන්ට අධික මිලට දරා ගන්න බෑ. ගානේ තරම් ඉහළ ගිහිලා තියෙන්නේ.
Some people in Kurunegala expressed their frustration over the current situation.
ඇත්තටම හරි දුකයි මේ සැරේ සිංහල අවුරුද්දක් කියලා එකක් නැහැ. මේ ළමයෙකුට ඇඳුමක්වත් තරම් දෙන්න වෙන්නේ නැහැ මහත්තයා මේ සැරේ අවුරුද්දට නම්. ගෙදරට මිනිහෙක් ආවත් කිරිත එකක් දෙන්න බැරි තත්ත්වයක් අද අපේ පත් වෙලා තියෙන්නේ.
චූටි ළමයෙකුට මේ අවුරුදු කියලා ආසාවෙන් බලන් ඉන්න ළමයෙකුට ඇඳුමක්වත් තරම් දෙන්න නැති නිසා තමයි මේ නගරයට මිනිස්සු ඇවිල්ලා නැත්තේ. පුළුවන් නම් ඔය කැමරාව මූණට නෙමෙයි හදවතට අල්ලලා බලන්න හදවත ගිනි ගන්නවා මේ මිනිස්සුන්ගේ.
The Ministry of Trade says a pack of goods will be sold at concessionary rates in line with the Sinhala and Tamil New Year festival. A pack of goods which would cost about 3,085 rupees in the market can be purchased for 1,550 rupees at Sadosa stores. The pack contains 5 kilos of kiri samba, 5 kilos of nard rice, 1 kilo of brown sugar, 100 grams of tea leaves and a 400-gram milk powder packet. People who queued up outside a Sadosa store in Kandy to purchase the food pack had to turn back empty-handed.
මේ පොලිමේ මෙච්චර ඉඳද්දි දැන් ආල් කිලෝ 2යි නැත්තම් 3යි.
සහනවල් උනන් තිබුණේ නැහැ එහෙ මොනවත්. අනේ මහත්තයෝ වැඩක් නැහැ කතා කරලා මුන්ට දුකක් තේරෙන්නේ නැහැ.
උදේට ප්‍රවෘත්ති බලන් ඉඳලා මෙතෙන් දෙනවා හාල්ලට ගන්න. ඉතින් හාල් පහක් දෙනවා කිපින්න එන්නේ නැත්තම් ওই පෝලිං වල අවුවේ කර වෙන්නේ නැහැ. ඉතින් අපිට දුකයි මෙතෙන් දෙන්න කඳුළු වැටෙනවා. දැන් දුවට හාල් 3ක් ගේන්න කියනවා එයාට ගන්න යන්න බෑනේ.
සානමල්ල දෙනවා කියලා තමයි මිනිස්සු ඔක්කොම පොලිමේ ඉන්නේ. සානමල්ලක් දෙන්නේ නැහැ.
Sri Lanka is in an economic turmoil at present as the skyrocketing cost of goods has left people helpless. Why has Sri Lanka found itself in this situation? Those in power have often blamed the COVID-19 pandemic for the crisis in the country, but the claim is questionable as Sri Lanka's South Asian peers have performed better economically. The Asian Development Bank has projected India's economic growth to reach about 7.5%, although the country dealt with a deadly wave of COVID-19. According to the ADB, Pakistan, which is grappling with a political crisis, is expected to record an economic growth of about 4%. The economy of Bangladesh is expected to grow up to 6.9%, Bhutan by 4.5%, Nepal by 3.9%, and Maldives, which relies heavily on tourism, by 11%. However, the Asian Development Bank's forecast for Sri Lanka is a paltry 2.4%. These factors leave us with a plethora of questions. Does this justify the blame on the COVID-19 pandemic? Or is it sheer economic mismanagement that has caused the crisis? Did the government make timely decisions when imposing and lifting restrictions at the peak of the COVID-19 pandemic? Were vaccines imported to the country before it was too late? Some officials spent many weeks believing that the Dhammika tonic and pots of holy water would be effective against COVID-19. Was a plan in place to resuscitate export industries that bring foreign revenue to the country? Do you remember how COVID-19 clusters were named after export businesses that bring massive foreign revenue? Apart from entrusting tourism in the hands of a few allies, what was the government's plan to uplift the industry as a whole? It is no secret that the import restrictions imposed to stem foreign exchange outflows ultimately benefited a few importers of sugar, coconut oil and garlic. Do you remember that cabinet proposals were tabled to import luxury vehicles for politicians, disregarding an import ban that was in effect? As Sri Lanka's economy continued to sink, the government made an overnight decision to ban the use of chemical fertilizer in mid last year. The decision sparked anger among farmers, who then took to the streets. But the government proceeded to import nano-nitrogen fertilizer from India, rubbing salt on the wounds of the agriculture industry. In the same sequence of events, the government paid more than $6.9 million for a Chinese organic fertilizer shipment that was never unloaded. A state-run bank also saw itself mired in controversy during the transaction. The government lost about 600 billion rupees in revenue after it decided to slash taxes immediately after coming into power. What followed was a massive printing of money. Central bank officials, including Professor W.D. Lakshman, the governor at the time, strongly disputed the decision to print money. The objection was made, citing that money printing can cause the cost of goods and services to increase. On September 15, 2021, Ajit Niwad Cabral, who was serving as a state minister, was appointed as the governor of the central bank. He insisted that money printing would not cause inflation and that there were sufficient dollars in the country. Ultimately, the central bank's foreign reserves continued to deplete as it maintained a cap on the exchange rate of $1 to 202 rupees. Economic experts repeatedly called on the government to allow the exchange rate to float and to seek the assistance of the International Monetary Fund to restructure Sri Lanka's debt. However, neither the central bank governor nor the finance minister Basil Rajapaksa seemed to comprehend the gravity of the situation. Eventually, the lack of foresight caused the country's foreign reserves to dwindle to $1.5 billion. The central bank managed to top up its reserves up to $2.5 billion by obtaining $1.5 billion from China under a swap exchange facility. However, Sri Lanka's foreign currency reserves now stand at less than $1 billion. At the peak of the economic crisis, the central bank in March decided to allow the exchange rate to float. However, it did not instill enough confidence among expatriate workers. Sri Lankan workers did not remit money to the country through the banking system, as they received a higher exchange rate in the grey market. And today, the dollar is selling at more than 320 rupees. Against such a backdrop, will the International Monetary Fund help Sri Lanka out of this crisis by offering dollars? It must be kept in mind that the IMF isn't Santa Claus waiting to give away billions of dollars just because one wishes for it. The IMF is a serious economic union and will work with serious governments with serious conditions. Had Sri Lanka approached this months earlier, the pain on ordinary people would be a lot less. But as with everything else, incompetence, corruption and arrogance took pride of place over intelligent decision making. Today, we are left with no choice but to go to the IMF on our knees.
In some developing international news, the Speaker of Pakistan's National Assembly has refused to hold a vote of no confidence against Prime Minister Imran Khan. Today's crucial session is currently on break. Prime Minister Imran Khan's party has filed a review petition with the Supreme Court to delay the no confidence motion. The Supreme Court had previously ruled that the vote should take place at the National Assembly today. But the Prime Minister's party has argued that the court cannot interfere in the affairs of the Parliament. The opposition has said it has enough seats to win the no-confidence motion and remove Imran Khan from office. The Prime Minister has called a cabinet meeting later today.
Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan addressed the nation on the eve of a no-confidence vote in Parliament.
जो सुप्रीम कोर्ट का फैसला आया,
Without looking into the matter, why did Deputy Speaker Kazim Khanzouri prorogue the assembly? The reason was Article 5, which means foreign hands were involved in the no-confidence vote in Pakistan. I want to say we don't have an issue with anyone, and neither am I against any country. I only want to say our first priority should be our own 220 million people's interest. After that, I will accept others.
अफसोस इसलिए हुआ कि जो डिप्टी स्पीकर ने
Khan claimed America wanted him gone because of his foreign policy choices in favor of Russia and China, and a visit he made on the 24th to Moscow, where he held talks with President Vladimir Putin as Russian tanks rolled into Ukraine. He has also said the US dislikes his strident criticism of Washington's war on terror.
And that's the wrap of this edition of Primetime News. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Azra Hassan with our sign language interpreter for tonight, Brandy Cruz. Take care and good night.